Galen Nelson, and I'm here at the Mass Clean Energy Center with my colleague Sally Griffith, and we'll be walking you through this webinar on the InnovateMass program. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm going to quickly review the agenda for this webinar, which we don't expect will last very long, and then we'll get right into the meat of the presentation. So I'm going to quickly review the goal of this pilot program. I'm going to go over some of the highlights of the RFP. I'm not going to walk you all through the entire RFP. I don't really think that would be a good use of anyone's time, but I will call out some highlights from the RFP. I'm going to make a couple of announcements and updates on the program, some fairly late-breaking announcements. And then we'll have a little bit of time for some Q&A. And in that regard, I don't know how many questions we'll be able to directly answer in the course of this webinar, but it will be a good time for you to pose questions that we will answer on in a timely fashion. And of course, as we have been doing since we released the concept paper RFP, we will post the answers to those questions on the InnovateMass page on the Mass Clean Energy Center website. So looking at the overall program, I do want to begin by saying that this is a pilot program. So we're all learning from this. The Mass Clean Energy Center has not done something like this before. We've certainly issued a lot of solicitations over the years, but this is our first time kind of playing in the demonstration project space, if you will. So we hope to learn a lot from this. I'm sure we'll learn a lot from the market, from the industry, from all of you, and we really look forward to hearing your feedback, good and bad, positive and negative, throughout this whole process. But I really do thank all of you for the interest that you've shown and that the industry has shown to date in this program. And it was interesting to see when we released this solicitation, not only did we hear a lot of interest from the clean energy community and primarily from companies, but also from a lot of other state agencies and public entities that are also very interested in this space. And in fact, the GSA and the MWRA have issued somewhat similar funding solicitations to try to highlight emerging technologies to help them achieve their mission. So I think this is a good new trend that the public sector is playing with, and I think, again, we'll all learn from the early movers, and we're certainly one of those. So just to review the goal of this Clean Energy Demonstration Pilot Program, we've heard for quite a few years from the clean tech industry, from companies, from industry observers, from investors, from our utility partners and others that demonstration projects generally have been difficult to find funding for, that funding those has been a barrier. So we're seeking to help overcome that barrier in part with this program. And again, we really do want to hear your feedback on program design throughout this process, and we'll create some more formal opportunities for that going forward. So what we're looking for with this InnovateMass program are teams that can prove out new technologies or combine existing technologies in new ways to address clean energy challenges. And we want these projects, these outcomes, to be scalable, to have strong commercialization potential, the ability to create jobs here in Massachusetts while, of course, reducing energy use and related environmental impacts. And again, all of this is spelled out in the RFP, which for those of you who are looking online, you'll see a link to the downloadable RFP, Demonstration Project Pilot Program RFP, concept paper applications, the PDF near the bottom of the InnovateMass page. So that's essentially what motivated us to create this pilot program. So I'm going to review some of the key components of the RFP, but obviously, like any solicitation, and I suspect that all of you have, that you carefully read and review the RFP in its entirety. But I do want to draw some things to your attention. So the kind of most basic components or requirements is that you call out an energy challenge. We identified a number of energy challenges. In fact, this RFP is somewhat anchored by this concept of identifying innovative solutions to existing energy challenges or clean tech challenges. We've called several out in the RFP in bullets, but I want to underscore that these are not the only energy challenges that you can seek to address. We just simply call those out because we've been approached by others about those challenges, or they're challenges that we've heard over and over again from key stakeholders. But we certainly welcome and encourage applicant teams to identify other challenges, and as long as you can defend those challenges and identify metrics against which you measure your solution and make a strong case that your solution, your demonstration project will address that challenge, then we're very happy to consider it. So, but minimally, applicants will need to identify that technology that they're seeking to demonstrate, obviously a demonstration site where that project can be tested, where that technology can be tested, and you need to provide the required 100% match. So again, sometimes matches and the terms used to describe matches in RFPs are confusing, but to be perfectly clear, if we're providing the maximum capped grant of $150,000, the applicant team would need to provide a cost share or matching grant of $150,000, and that can be split between in-kind services and cash. And that's all laid out, again, in the RFP. And then we also run through the various sections of this 3- to 5-page concept paper that we require. Again, the identification of the energy challenge, the installation plan for the demonstration project, a description of the technology that you're seeking to demonstrate, a description of the project team, and a description of the demonstration project benefits. And again, we provide more detail about exactly what we're looking for in each of those sections in the RFP. And then finally, we ask the applicants to include a budget narrative, and we have included special budget narrative instructions. I did want to call out one component of that, which is that we do want applicant teams to identify a performance monitoring and evaluation plan and to reserve up to 10% of your budget for that purpose. And the reason why we want to do that is that we will be contracting with a vendor to help administer this program, and that vendor will be providing a suite of services to us, including reviewing the performance monitoring and evaluation plans that are submitted by applicant teams. So we do want you to make an argument for what type of performance monitoring and evaluation plan you think will help prove out your technology and to reserve funding for it. But if your concept paper is chosen to move on to the full proposal phase of this process, then we'll work with you at the contracting phase to hammer out a performance monitoring and evaluation plan. And I guess I should have said from the outset that we are looking at a 2-stage process here. The submittal of a 3- to 5-page concept paper application. We will go through a selection process, choose the strongest concept papers from that first phase, and then ask those applicant teams that make it through that first phase to submit full proposals to us. We've also called out in quite a bit of detail the selection criteria that will guide our selection process. So I would, again, urge you all to review those carefully, both the selection criteria and also the budget instructions that are included in the RFP. I also want to call out your attention to the questions and answers that appear on the InnovateMass webpage, and Sally is very helpfully shooting us down to that section of the page where some of you have already sent us questions for which we've provided answers. We're happy to take more. And I think, frankly, the questions that have been asked so far have been extremely helpful, and they're questions that we've heard from multiple parties. So thank you to those of you who have taken the time to ask these very good questions. I'm going to move now to some program announcements. I think that covers the highlights from the RFP. The most important program announcement I want to make today is that we are, and these are actually somewhat related announcements. First is that we are very close to announcing a very exciting partnership with the Environmental Protection Agency to announce additional funding for applicant teams that are seeking to address the water challenge, the septic water challenge that we've called out, actually a related septic water challenge that we call out in the solicitation, in the RFP. And what's interesting about this is that we heard from a number of agencies, state and federal agencies, and also reached out to some of our allies after we announced this funding opportunity, and they were very excited and suggested that they could come in on top of our award and identify a energy challenge or a clean tech challenge that was meaningful to them and that addressed a challenge that was key to their mission, and come in on top of our maximum $150,000 award with additional funding. In most cases, it's funding that can only be used to support the testing, monitoring, performance monitoring and evaluation services, but nonetheless really important support and additional funding for this effort. And in fact, we're very close to striking that kind of an agreement with the Environmental Protection Agency around the water septic challenge that is referenced in the RFP. And specifically, it will focus on providing support for technology solutions that can address the nutrient loading problem that we have in this state and frankly around the country in areas, in residential areas served by septic systems where nutrient loading, particularly from nitrogen, has become a real problem for water quality. We see, and the EPA sees, a very strong opportunity to identify a suite of technology solutions that can help address that nutrient loading while also potentially producing some energy. There are several septic treatment technologies that may be applicable here. And then to prove out those technologies here in the Commonwealth. So we will announce more details about the specifics of that challenge probably in the next 24 to 48 hours. It's just not completely official yet, so unfortunately I can't provide any more details at this time. But this will be, again, on additional funding up to $130,000 to support testing and demonstration of the selected technologies on top of the $150,000 that we'll be providing to chosen applicants. Now, this, of course, I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, this sounds wonderful, but now we're up against a tough deadline, and we're very aware of that. We've also heard from some of you that you could use a little bit more time. So what I'd really like to hear from folks today, either in the course of this webinar or over the next, say, 24 hours, if there's a strong feeling from the applicant universe, if you'd like to see us extend the deadline. I'm inclined to extend the deadline for the concept papers, frankly, in part simply to honor this partnership with the EPA, because for those who might be enticed now to pursue this opportunity with this additional EPA funding, you'd only have about a month to put together the 3 to 5 page concept paper. So we are inclined to extend the deadline, but I would really like your feedback. So please do contact me directly or Sally, or shoot us a note through the webinar and let us know whether or not you would like to see us extend the deadline. And if we do, I have to say that it would probably be an extension to mid-January, a 3 to 4 week extension. And again, in part to honor this agreement with the EPA, we're also pursuing similar agreements with other agencies that would be on the one hand a wonderful opportunity, but again would provide a strong argument, I think, to extend this deadline a bit. So love to hear your feedback in that regard. So those two announcements are somewhat related. This partnership with the EPA on the water challenge, the water septic challenge, and the possible extension of the what is now currently December 21st concept paper deadline. The other item I wanted to mention is that a handful of you have already used the matchmaking tool that we developed. It's pretty crude by our admission, but I do think that it's helping teams identify, applicants identify other team members. And Sally has now pulled it up on the screen. And again, this is simply an effort for folks to make others in the community generally aware of what they're working on, what project they're pursuing, and to call out possible gaps, frankly, in their applicant team, and in a way that will help identify additional team members. So I urge you all to check out the matchmaking tool, again, which is linked from the InnovateMass page on the Clean Energy Center's website. Fill it out, frankly, even if you don't plan on using it. If you think that there might be a connection, or even if you don't think there will be a connection, someone might see that you're working on a particular challenge and might offer some helpful advice or connection to a resource that wasn't on your radar. So I urge all of you to populate this tool. And again, like the entire program itself, this is a beta version of this tool. It's obviously not very interactive, but if folks use it and we decide that this could be a good resource going forward for the community, it's something that we could invest more resources in, make it more robust, make it much more interactive, smarter, and it could be a tool for matchmaking that serves not just this funding opportunity, but many other business opportunities. So again, I urge you to check out the matchmaking tool and give it a test drive. I do want to apologize. Some of you had some technical problems with the matchmaking tool. We thought at first it was a web browser compatibility issue, and I think in the end we determined from our web server provider, technology provider, that there was a character limit problem. We thought we had resolved it, but it was not resolved. Now, apparently, as of this morning, it has been resolved. There is a 999 character limit on each of those fields, so just be sure that when you're entering information into each of the 5 or 6 fields that are available to you, that you limit your entries to fewer than 1,000 or 999 characters. I think that is about all I wanted to say here. I think we've covered everything. We've covered the goals of the program. We've gone through some of the highlights of the RFP. I've shared with you some program announcements, including the possible deadline extension, the partnership with the EPA and the matchmaking tool. And now I think we'd like to open it up for questions. And again, feel free to either send questions directly to myself, to my colleague Sally, S. Griffith at MassCEC.com, or right now through the webinar tool. So with that, in case some of you do drop off, I want to thank you all for your time. Thank you for your interest in this pilot program, and really look forward to hearing, both seeing your concept papers. We're all very excited about this. It's generated a lot of excitement here at the organization and the administration generally, and among some of our allied state and federal agencies. But I also want to hear your feedback, and you can be brutally honest about how you want us to change this program if we're in fact to do this again in another round later this year, next year. How would you want us to change it, add, subtract, different direction? We have considered, by the way, issuing an RFI simply to identify additional energy challenges that are shared broadly by the community. So that's just one idea we've toyed with, but we'd love to hear your ideas on that subject generally. So thanks again for your time, and look forward to hearing and fielding your inquiries. Well, everyone, I think we did answer one technical question that someone submitted, and we're not seeing any other questions popping up here. So we'll leave the line open for another moment or so, but it looks like either you're all very shy, or you don't have any questions, or you're hungry and you already went to lunch. So again, thank you all for your time. We'll wait another few minutes, and if we don't hear from anyone, we'll complete the call. Okay. You know what? I'm going to be more thoughtful about the answer to that.
Maybe read it out and say that we will place the best one.
Yeah. Okay. So we are getting a couple questions now, and I think that based on the nature of these questions, we'll provide answers on the web page. I will answer one quickly, which is where is the septic water challenge called out in the RFP? That particular challenge is referenced, but it's referenced slightly differently. I believe that it is. It's bullet number 3, industrial wastewater treatment solutions that provide an alternative to energy-intensive treatment methods. So we have taken the liberty of just kind of expanding the thinking on that particular challenge area and scaling it down, frankly, from industrial wastewater treatment solutions and thinking specifically about residential scale, household septic challenges. And again, we haven't, unfortunately, we can't officially announced the partnership with EPA yet, but will shortly. And when we do, that challenge will be very specifically called out in a document that we'll make publicly available. To be clear, we remain interested in projects that can address this industrial wastewater treatment solution challenge that is called out in the RFP. So just think of, again, it's a difference of scale. It's a difference of a Deer Island type wastewater treatment facility that's serving, tens of thousands of households versus the septic system in your backyard. We're interested in seeing solutions to both of those challenges that provide that result in a higher quality, less nutrient-laden effluent, and perhaps energy production. But we will announce the specifics of the residential scale water septic challenge today, or today or tomorrow. Someone's also asked, how do we contact companies that are on the matchmaking list? If you mouse over the contact name, it should open up your email program in your browser. I also want to just highlight one other question that we're seeing here, and we want to provide a thoughtful answer, so I'm not going to answer it now, but someone has asked if the concept paper evaluation criteria are fairly detailed for a 3- to 5-page response. Might you consider to reduce lists or suggest ones you want us to primarily focus on? Fair question. We certainly thought about that a bit in the course of pulling together this RFP. And we will provide a more detailed answer on that, but I would say my kind of gut reaction is we would like to hear you respond to all those bullets, but in many cases you can respond to each of those bullets literally with a 1 or 2 sentence response. So I think that there's probably a compromise position we can reach here on this, which is that we do want it to be a thoughtful paper that covers a lot of those issues, but I think that we can figure out, we can prioritize bullets and give you a sense of what the most important elements of that selection criteria are. And we will do that.
All the questions.
I think that's it for now, everyone. So thank you again for your participation, and we will, again, provide answers to these questions on the web page. And I wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving. Thanks very much.